Most photographers think cropping in photography is optional, something we do after the image is made. That belief is why images will look uncontrolled, confusing, and forgettable. Cropping isn't a choice. If you want absolute control over your fine art photography, cropping is mandatory. By the end of this video, you will learn how to crop with intention and control the way your audience views your image. Okay, why cropping controls attention and emotion in photography? If you don't control the crop, you don't control attention. If you don't control attention, you don't control emotion. And if you don't control emotion, your images become nice and then they're forgotten. This is why two photographers can photograph the same subject in the same light with the same kind of camera. And one image stops you while the other one just disappears. It's not gear, it's not sharpness, it's not luck, it's control. In photography, cropping is the fastest way to take your control back, if you understand what that really is. Because most of us crop based on pixels or the subject. In a minute, I'm going to show you how to crop based on mind. How to crop with intention, where control in fine art photography actually begins. I look at an image and the first question I ask isn't about the settings or sharpness. I ask myself, what can I do so that my audience looks at what I want them to see first? That's how I think about how to crop photos in fine art photography. Because the moment you answer that question, you stop reacting to the image and start directing it. In the next topic, let's talk about how the first impression should never be accidental. And if it is, your image will never ever recover. Why cropping is the first impression of your image? We crop for one reason. We crop to say hello to our audience. Just imagine this. When someone comes to your door and you open the door, the way you say hello to them determines how the conversation is going to take place. A warm, simple hello invites them in. A harsh greeting, on the other hand, pushes them out. Cropping works exactly the same way. This is what intentional cropping really means in photography. You crop so your audience sees the smile of your image first. You crop so they hear the warm hello of your photograph before they hear anything else. If your crop is aggressive, confusing, or rushed, your audience pulls back. If your crop is clear and intentional, your audience leans in. Your goal is to gently lead them to what you want them to see first. So treat cropping like a decision. Decide how you want your audience to start the journey through your image. That's how strong images are built. The better you are at cropping, the more invited your audience feels inside your image. So now let's talk about how can you stop cropping just randomly. Alright guys, the next topic, why random cropping weakens photo composition. Cropping should never be random. If you're dragging the crop tool hoping something feels right, you're reacting instead of being intentional. Cropping has to be planned before you photograph or while you are photographing. You should already know what you're willing to remove and what must stay. When cropping is planned, it feels intentional. When it's random, it feels uncertain. And uncertainty is something your audience feels immediately. Intentional cropping gives the image confidence. And confident images are easy to trust. But this is what we're going to talk about next. Even an intentional crop can fail if it has the wrong final output. So that brings us to cropping for social media or fine art prints. How much you crop is going to depend on where the image is going to live, on social media or as a large print. If I'm creating a social media post and I'm photographing with a 50 megapixel camera, I can crop out at least 80% of my image because the final image is small. It lives on social media. No one is purchasing it. But fine art wildlife photography is different. Wildlife photography cropping changes when you're creating fine art prints. When people purchase art, they expect the best of the best. And as an artist, it's your responsibility to deliver that quality. If the goal is fine art print, especially a large print, cropping more than 50% is not the best idea. No matter how big your sensor is. Beyond 50%, you start losing details. And details is what's expected by your collectors in fine art wildlife photography. What happens is your image needs presence. And presence requires information. And information lives in the details. So before you crop, think about the end use. Cropping for social media and cropping for fine art prints are two completely different decisions. The decision alone tells you how far you can go. Okay guys, let's see how we can become a world-class cropper. You need to make sure of these three things. And these three things are true to wildlife photography and fine art photography. So here they are. You need patience, you need practice, and you need the right questions. So what do I mean by that? Practice. You'll need a lot of practice to get the crop right. This is what you should do. Take one image and then crop it 20 different ways. Look at each and every way and see how that crop makes you feel. And once you know that, put it in your memory because that is what's going to help you in the future on cropping different images. So you need to know how that crop makes you feel. Your feeling is super important. Second, patience. Patience is simple. Keep on failing. Failing again and again and again and again. The more you fail, the more patience you'll need. But no, if you stay with it, you will achieve what you want. So yes, patience is absolutely necessary and you'll need a lot of it. Alright, so now let's go to the questions. These are the questions that I ask myself to make myself a better cropper. The most important question I ask is, what do I want my audience to see first? Think of your image as your house. The crop is the door, the entrance to your image. Ask yourself, what is the easiest way to let your audience in? Remember, as humans, we love easy. Ease in seeing, ease in understanding, ease of feeling, and most importantly, ease of doing less. The easier you make the entry point for your audience, the more they connect with your image. The next question is just as important. Can my viewer's mind fill in what I'm cropping out? The answer depends on how familiar they are with your subject. If I crop the ears of an Arctic wolf or an elephant for that matter, my audience will automatically fill that in with their own brain. They don't have to see it. They have seen it so many times in their life that once you crop it out, boom, they put it right back in. That helps you connect with your audience as well. It makes them your creative partner. But now, if I crop ears of a rare animal and its ears are in a particular shape that my audience has not seen much of, it's going to be very difficult for them to fill that in because they don't have a reference. And this is where cropping out parts of your subject becomes risky. If your viewer can fill the missing part of your photograph, they become a creative partner with you. Automatically, they love your image because now they're part of it. That's why knowing your audience matters so much. The better you know your audience, the better you'll know what to crop out and what to protect in your image. Because being a world-class cropper is knowing what your audience can easily fill in their brain and what they can't. And the only way to learn that is through patience, practice, and asking the right questions. There are many more rules to cropping. Subject positioning, subject directing, and visual flow. But that's a tutorial for the future. Once you understand this, cropping stops becoming a tool and it becomes a way of thinking. I'm sharing this because it helped me a lot when I first learned it. Cropping isn't a trick, it's a way of thinking. The more intentional you are with it, the more control you gain over how your images are felt. If you want to improve your photography, go watch this playlist. And in the near future, we'll go deeper into subject positioning, directing, and visual flow. I'll see you guys next week.